So let's start with the applications view, right? This is the new part of the product. Again, the entire objective here is to take everything that Anchore does and break away from individual assets. So looking at individual images or SBOMs and start grouping things together into applications and versions. What you see here is I've got 3 applications. Creating an application is fairly straightforward, but before we do that, let's talk about, well, what is an application? So an application represents your functional software units, right? So it could be a software product that you release as a software provider, right? Maybe you have monthly, quarterly, annual releases. So in that case, your application represents an actual product, and versions in the application represent immutable assets, right? So as you release a product, it is not going to change until you have a subsequent release. The other way to use applications is for continuous work streams. So let's say you are working on release 4 of your product and your application represents your Git repo. A version potentially would represent your nightly build or your milestone builds or your release candidates, in which case you are expecting much more frequent churn, a higher volume of versions. And what you're doing there is tracking day-to-day changes as opposed to tracking your products as they are released into the market and used by customers. So to create an application, we just provide a name. You can pick which policy you want. So this is another improvement over 5, where you can have different policies for different applications. In this case, I'll just use our basic security policy. You can give it a description. The next thing we ask for is a point of contact, right? So let me put myself down. The reason here is most of our customers are large. There's going to be lots of different applications owned by different teams. And the idea here is to just give you somebody to contact if there are questions about a particular application. Then you just click create. It'll create the application. You can either go inside the application, or at this point you can create a version. So let's create a version. We'll just call it version 1.0. You can create a version with different lifecycle statuses. So you can create a version as in progress, right? This is something we are working on at the moment. You can also backfill with things that are already released in the field, and even things that are no longer maintained, so end-of-life versions. And marking something as end-of-life will expose this to future automatic cleanup rules. So we'll have lifecycle rules that will allow you to say, I would like to delete an application that's end-of-life over 90 days, right? So that puts it into that status. So we will create it as in progress. You also can see here we have a field for parent version. And what this allows you to do is set up provenance linkages, right? So as you branch from 1.0 into 2.0 and 2.0 becomes 2.1, this sets up relationships across versions, which will in the future allow us to build views that show provenance of your code, basically your branching schemes, and how your composition and security state changes over time as you branch and release new applications. So we now have created a version, and let's navigate into it. So you can see here, I've got an empty workspace. I now am inside of my app, version 1.0. It is in progress, tells you when it was created. And you can see we got a couple different buttons on top and down below here.